Oh,
Okay, we're live again. All right, sorry about that, y'all. We kind of, honestly, for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, we did a deep dive into the psychology of Peacemaker and his dad. But it just came to the point to where we've established that it's complex. And Grace, if you could just kind of briefly kind of wrap up what we were saying just now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the
that's
internet. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's okay. No, I was just essentially just addressing, of course, it is complex, the relationship he has with his dad, because it's ingrained in us as kids to like look up to our parent.
Right.
And that's hard to disconnect from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're someone like Peacemaker. And I'm sure, I mean, his dad kind of set this up, like he's constantly trying to please his dad, right? And we get this flashback in the classroom at the start of the episode with one of the kids asking Peacemaker, do you have an origin story? And he gets that flashback. And we've seen like little pieces of them that moment,
Yeah.
right? We've had a lot of little references to his brother, who we know now, like we know has died. We know he like Peacemaker's involved in his death. We had Adebayo kind of mention that as she referenced his case file.
Yeah.
And here, we get a flash from that. We also get a flash of him kind of praying at the bed, like on a
Oh,
bedside.
true,
And
true, true, true,
then
true.
he
Mm-hmm.
answers like, no, I don't have one in the conventional sense. But it's, there is so much to unpack. Like, I mean, after his brother died,
Mm-hmm.
really by no fault of him. Like, he was a
Right.
kid
Right.
who was just trying to please his dad, who is just a fucked up
Right.
individual
Like, say when we
who's
found out in episode 8, like, this is something that his dad and quote unquote trailer family put him up to. It's not like he did anything wrong. It's not like he murdered his brother. It was just something
no.
that he was put into by his dad.
Exactly. And it's so sad. And we do see more of this in the next episode. So I'll dive into it once we kind of shift into it. But it's so sad to see Peacemaker like trying to get like that validation from his father, who will absolutely never give it to him, nor does
Right.
he need it, because you
Right.
don't want these a person like that to have to validate. Like their its opinion means absolutely nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a complex thing, and it's just really sad to see. And I think it makes you really feel for Peacemaker, especially after like Suicide Squad 2 and the way that finished, and how Peacemaker is kind of like the one who betrayed the team.
Right.
It is we've quickly got in a sense a lot of sympathy for him through the duration of this season.
Yeah. Um. So post the dad layer, we're back at the sheriff's department, and this is where, let's say, all hell breaks loose. Project Butterfly goes into full effect with 1,000 butterflies that came to visit Goff in all of their alien spaceships. So I'm sure, if anything, somebody may walk past or drive past like this little grassy knoll and see a whole bunch of just ships just laying there, because from there, of course, all those butterflies flew out and followed her. But all of them just swarming in. I was like, oh, it's over. It's over. I have no idea how Mern and the team are going to get out of this, just because they're taking over not only just the sheriff's department, they're taking over the jail, they're taking over everybody in this one building. So this was, I don't know. I don't even know how to call it. It was crazy. It
This
was crazy.
episode
Yeah,
was
yeah,
this episode was insane.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this episode was insane. It's we also like we did mention like the diary, right? Because I think before that happens, right, like the whole police force gets taken
Oh,
over.
true.
They discover that there's like a diary and everything, and it's kind of under control up until this happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we segue into basically where all these people are being taken, like the process of the butterfly like inhabiting the human body.
Yeah.
We obviously knew the process, we learned it in earlier episodes, but to see it is like a whole different thing. And
Yeah.
I saw a little too much of it in this one. I
Oh,
was just like,
really?
yeah,
Did it freak you
yeah.
out? Oh no.
James Gunn is known for this. Like James Gunn is known for this. I don't know what's wrong with James Gunn, but he gives us a lot of these like, I mean, amazing visuals. But I
Right.
was like, every time it happened, I'm like, I can't. It's just a lot.
I think the only part that really got to me was them, each and every single one of them trying to figure out how to smile in this new body now, and
Oh
every
my
single one of those
God.
smiles, they're like, I'm sure the director James Gunn was just like, I need every single one of you to make the weirdest smile ever. Don't no. That one looks genuine. Try to you make it weirder. Like it was just like a
Look
whole bunch
inhumane.
of
Less human.
right. It was just that was just an awkward walk through the hallway. You know, I'm glad Goff wasn't, but every single one of those butterflies after that, I was like, yeah, this is kind of crazy now.
It's insane. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I was gonna write, hold on, my notes. See, today I'm going old school and I have like actual paper notes and I'm like scared I mix them up. So if I say something that's in this episode, but it's actually in the next
No
one, I'm
worries.
sorry,
This is
guys.
listen. This is the
But
wrap up of Peacemaker. So if you want to
it's
jump
all
back and
one
forth, yeah,
thing.
it's all
It is all
good.
one
Yep,
thing.
keep going.
I'm pretty sure that that's in the same episode, though. I think this is where we get a scene, because obviously Peacemaker and Vigilante kind of unite again with like the main team that's been at the base. This is
Mm-hmm.
where they find out about the diary, all of that. They don't yet know that. Well, at this point, the sheriff isn't taken over just yet, right?
Right.
And what was I going to mention? Actually, they do. Now I'm like, now I can't remember. Anywho,
Say
the biggest
like
thing
the
I
way
wanted to.
the we don't find out about this diary. Yes, we find out at the very end of this episode, and by this
Okay,
point, the
okay.
sheriff is taken over, and then eventually, I think here the team is watching it on TV, and they're just, and
That's it.
then
Yeah, there you
episode
go.
7, they're talking about this diary.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, this scene I was mentioning is actually after the one we just went over, which is perfect. And I feel so bad. Kind of, I just have pure sympathy for Peacemaker at this
Mhm.
point because like I've associated with Michael Scott, and I'm just like he needs to be held.
Mhm.
But Peacemaker is kind of heartbroken because all of them are kind of holding up back the information that Murns is a butterfly. And it's so sad because he's like, I guess I'm the jackass for thinking that we're a
We're a
family here, or that
team.
we're friends,
Right.
we're a
Right.
team. And
Mhm.
he looks to Adebayo, who's kind of been his like right hand man, if you will. Like throughout
Mhm.
the whole thing, they've really bonded. They kind of are like the outcasts of the team for a big chunk of the season because they're more, I don't know, like soft. They're more like weird. I don't
I
know,
would say newer
but
to the team, and I wouldn't
no
say
word to the
soft,
team
just
there.
because, um, yeah, this team, since episode 1, it was just you can tell who had a job and those who didn't, like because Adebayo, she didn't know what she was actually doing there, and
No,
then
yeah.
Peacemaker was still trying to he didn't find out what a butterfly was until episode 3, you know. So at the end of the
Mhm.
day, the episodes 1 and 2, the season started with them kind of being clueless to what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to state it. And they vibed like well together from, when they first met, right? And
Mhm.
so it's so sad like seeing him like trying to reach for Adebayo, like trying to catch her eye and be like, what's going on? And even her, she's giving him the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
I felt bad. And then I think we do get a really sweet scene with him and Hardcore. Which is really nice because I think Hardcore is definitely like the most closed off from the team, and we
Definitely.
saw in like the previous episode she's definitely opening up. She's the one who like created like the I think it's like the WhatsApp or like the chats,
Yeah, the
the
group
chat with
chat.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And this episode I think finishes off with Chris playing the piano. I believe that's how we wrap it up.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then that goes into episode 7 to where that's when everybody's finding out about this diary, and from here, this is where it almost gets a little confusing for me, just because um Peacemaker is with Vigilante. They're going through the house, and he's like, where is Judo Master? But for me, even into the very end, there was no clear uh definition or reason for Judo Master to even come back. Like he could have explained who or what the butterfly's about, but we never got that. Like he was about to, but then he got shot, and it's like the moment that we see him, because I think we see him in this episode, right? We're outside of the convenience store, or was that episode 8?
No, I think it's this episode. No, I think it might have been the last one, maybe, because I'm not too sure. But
Okay.
when it comes to Judo Master, I think he's the one who like I kept like forgetting about because obviously we have a week
Right.
between episodes, right? And
Right.
so I'm like, hey, are you not dead? Did you not die in like the first time we see you? Why didn't you die after you got shot? Why are you here at this point? And
Right.
I think maybe that's what he's meant to serve because this whole series is just like a beautiful mess. Like it's a very well coordinated mess. So I think maybe that's what he was supposed to be. It's just kind of the afterthought of like, what are you still doing here?
But say
Um,
like I think if anything, he is the person right now aside from Mern to have let's say the human butterfly relationship. He's not a butterfly, but
mhm.
he understands who they are, and we didn't really get much out of him outside of, let's call it, judo rage. It was just like him fighting everybody and anything, you know.
That
Um,
was it.
that was it. Like I if anything, that was one thing that I hoped we got a little bit more from him, because even though I press skip on the intro on every single episode, it it always starts with the very last little clip of the little number with Peacemaker holding up the Judo Master. So you know he's in the show, but not really. You know, like I feel like,
Well, if you watch the whole dance sequence, which I do every
oh my
time,
goodness,
I think the dance sequence, the intro, actually matches very well with how we see Judo Master, and that is kind of like missing until the very end, and then he's just like, "Hello," and like I'm here still, and I think that's like the joke of it. I'm not bothered by it just because of the nature of the series. I think
right?
it's meant to be kind of like that. But it does give me slight kind of like Katana vibes in Suicide Squad 1, and so I can give you that. And when I mean that, it's a character that doesn't really add too much to the series. It kind
Mm-hmm.
of just keeps coming up. But the fact that he gets kind of being pulled in a way that doesn't make sense, I think is part of the joke of it at this point. So I think it's intentional for him to kind of be that side of like, you're still here, kind of a figure. You know what I mean?
But this
Um,
episode, episode 7, this is where I feel like, if anything, this is where we get that. This is where we should have got that, because um, from here, I'm gonna be just flipping back and forth, but this is gonna be post Mern at the hotel, and both Hardcore and Adebayo are in that room, and then Judo Master pops up, right? So
mhm.
say if anything, they take him down, they tase him. This is a moment to where, I'm sorry that I'm being picky here, but this is a moment to where, if anything, we can get a little bit more background on the knowledge of butterflies uh from Judo Master.
You know what? I will add this though. I will add this to kind of like the point that you're making. Although Harcourt wasn't there when Judo Master was like about to say something that evidently was going to be kind of important for what the
Right.
butterflies are and what they do,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably the whole like save the world thing that we find out in episode 8,
Mm-hmm.
Final One.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Chris does make that statement with the team, so I feel like just with like what hardcore like is to the team and that she's just very intuitive and like something as small as that I think would have been enough for her to be like, hey, like maybe let's find a way or part in this like little fight sequence to get more information from Judo Master because he
Yeah.
obviously does know more than we do at this point, and we're obviously trying to kill this cow, like defeat the butterflies. Like it would make sense to get more information from it. So to that your point, I feel like if someone was going to stop and try to like get more information and control the situation, it would have been Harcourt because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think Adebayo would have that like sense to do that, but I feel
Right.
like Harcourt would. And it was something that Chris mentioned to the entire team, like, oh, he was about to say something about the butterflies, and then Adebayo shot him. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I see the point. I see the point you're making for sure.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, Judo Master is defending the butterflies,
The butterflies.
and we just never got a clear cut reason why until episode 8. If he was more so about, yeah, we're gonna skip. If he was more so about world peace, sure. But if that's the case, instead of showing up to beat the shit out of Harcourt and Adebayo, he could have been like, "Hey, I come in peace. And speaking of peace, this is what the butterflies are about, you know. So I don't know.
I
They just
am
used
Judo
him,
Master,
right?
and I speak for the butterflies.
Right. He could
This is
have.
a Lorax
He
reference.
he could
Like,
have
I
done
am the
that.
Lorax. I speak for the trees.
Right. Exactly.
That would have been so funny. Oh, that would have been so funny. And just because we're on like the route of Judo Master, we kind of skipping around a little bit here. I do love how at the very end he finds like the, I guess like the aftermath of the events of the final episode, and
Hmm.
he's just like in tears. It's a really funny moment. Like I love his reaction, like to figure out that the whole cause is like pretty much over and the butterflies have been defeated.
Hmm.
And that's just a good way to finish out the season. But to kind of bring it back to episode 7, it does start off with kind of a much more elaborate scene of what we've been kind of seeing with Chris and his brother, who was killed in this like
Yeah.
fight that
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
his dad and this like trailer gang or whatever has are putting them up to do, right? And we talked about it in the previous one too, but it's like I think at this point he's still like mingling, or he's basically framed himself in his mind to be the cause of his brother's death, and his
Hmm.
dad of course is no help to him in
Right.
that, because he definitely provokes it. And as we saw in this flashback, is like, oh, you killed your brother, like this is your fault, this is on you. And it's really sad to see like the full scene, especially because it's like you see these like little kid actors and everything like
Yeah.
play it all really well. And I think from here, this is where we segue into pretty much is like the police department is after Myrn and like the other members of the Project Butterfly.
Yeah.
And then this is where we have like the White Dragon and like the whole posse of like white supremacists,
Right.
white power, like
Hmm.
go after Chris and Vigilante and all of them. So I feel like there's two major chases happening kind of around the same time in this episode.
Yeah. Now, where they lost me in this episode is the whole no good or bad time to rock. Like honestly, I was like, all right, y'all, I got it. There's no bad time, but like that was like the phrase that was said throughout the whole episode. Because I think even when it came down to Vigilante versus the White Dragon, I think he said that right before he threw that grenade. Am I wrong? I think he did say that.
I don't know, but I will say this. In the little flashback sequence that we got at the start of this episode, it's Chris and his brother, and it's his brother who first says like rock and roll forever, like there's no bad time to rock. So it's like I made a note to say like we can see where Chris's love of like music and that kind of genre music comes from, because it
Yeah.
reminds him of his brother.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this solo little runner of like there's no bad time to rock, I think is just a reflection of that flash, which is pretty much like the last good moment that he had with his brother
Yeah.
before he was killed in like that little like pit fight. So I'm
Hmm.
not bothered by it. It's like a big hashtag heartstring moments in my eyes. I think it was very fitting for this episode, and I think being that we started this episode with that little flashback in that moment with him and his brother,
Yeah.
I think it blends well. I think
Yeah.
it blends well with it.
So I think if anything, this, even though like we already knew that Vigilante was kind of cold, like on some like sociopath, like him versus White Dragon made him more of a badass. I was like, okay, cool. He's actually beating him up. He's doing something, you know. I didn't know what to expect because I'm over here thinking, yes, I remember seeing him in the prison and he beat up the other two, but we didn't see him go up against the White Dragon. And
Yep.
I was hoping to see if it's actually going to be a fair fight. But at the end of the day, to me, I think White Dragon just came out to be more so just a suit and talk, and that's it.
Yep.
Like he's not really like a martial artist or anything. I almost thought his suit was borderline Iron Man, the way that it was kind of flying around and everything like that. But he can't compare to Tony Stark at all.
No.
So I appreciate Vigilante even more after the fight scene that he had with the White Dragon.
I love Vigilante. Sociopath, yes, but it's like he truly cares for Chris, and so this fight, or like this piece where he's like fighting the White Dragon, is very like this is his time. Like, he's defending his friend. You know, he was ready to kill this man, like, in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. And we definitely do get a lot of really good vigilante scenes in this episode, as well as the final one.
Right.
And because obviously we get this whole fight sequence with the White Dragon, his crew, and Peacemaker, Eagley, and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to point out, I don't know if you caught this. I use the subtitles when I watch shows, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And when the people on like the on White Dragon's like team are
Mm-hmm.
like talking, the names. So one of them is like skinhead racist girl.
Oh
The
shit.
other one's like a racist asshole. It's really funny. Like, I noticed it. I'm like, wait, go back. And I rewatched it, and I wish I wrote it down to get like the exact like things. But you know, when it would say like, oh, Peacemaker, and then it says like his line, it says like that skinhead
I'm currently
racist.
looking
Like, one of
at
the
listen, on IMDb, that's what they have. Like, they have like one person as the white power shithead. Then you have the asshole referee.
Yep,
You have
there
a
you go.
racist thug, skinhead girl, white hood wanker.
That's it.
It was like, wait, I was like, that's wild that they have that in the credits, especially in the like you said, the subs. No, I missed
Yes,
that. I missed that.
that's some details that I just think were too good to pass up on. That was really
Look at
good.
James Gunn.
Look at James Gunn. And something we do get in this scene, and it's very subtle, but it's definitely in there, and I think it makes sense with all the other little comments and things we've had, like his dad say to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like confirmed, like, of Peacemaker's like sexuality, and that he's, you know, part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't like dive deep into it, but he's definitely like, I forget the way the dad phrases it, but basically like just saying like, oh, and the people that you like mingle with and all these things.
And see, it
But it
wasn't like, say, from there. I think it was speculation, and it wasn't until uh either the end of this episode. Yeah, it was the end of this episode to where he's having a heart to heart with Eagley, and he's like, the only other person who loved me was like Keith or something like that, and that confirmed it, because initially his dad talking shit was just his dad talking. His, like, we've already established that all he does is talk. And then we didn't really get that confirmation until I think the end of the episode with Eagley.
Yeah, and it was, he said something in particular that was like, oh, okay, I think it's like, and it made me very sad, because it's like, not only does he hate his son because he thinks he's just trash, but he hates him even more so because of that component, which is just like that's why I clocked it. And then of course, like at the end, it was like confirmed, you know, but it made me very sad to think. And then you kind of look back, because I did rewatch some of the prior episodes before today, and you see some of like the comments he's making to his son, and it just kind of adds to like that kind of stereotype. Like, I already hated the dad
Yeah.
because he's like a biget
Oh
and a
yeah.
racist and all these things. I'm just like, I really despise this man. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy this man ended the way he did. Because we do, I forget how, I think it's Peacemaker who does kill the dad inevitably, right? It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
Vigilante, it wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, because they ended up tracking the helmets that were in the trunk, because they didn't know that the
Yes.
helmets have the trackers in it. Initially, they found out because they got rid of it, and Peacemaker had a one-on-one with a raccoon, which which made sense why his face was all scratched up. And the economist kind of pointed that out. He's like, it happened exactly how I thought, trying to take down a raccoon.
Yeah.
But no, Vigilante thought he was doing his part by, he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go grab these because I thought they were expensive, which I'm sure they are, but at the end of the day, it just came down to the point to where they were tracking it all, and
Yep.
the dad caught up with him, and then that's where he
Yeah.
inevitably just like took him out, you know. So
Oh yeah, I can see the scene in my head now.
yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that happened outside of the confrontation between him and his dad, because I think, again, back to my research on IMDb, the only other images that I'm seeing are in the I don't want to say hospital, but the veterinarian hospital. Was there anything
Yes,
outside of
because
that?
they take Eagley. Yeah, they take Eagley to the hospital. No, I think that was kind of the main thing.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously like Burns dies. There's like a hashtag heartstring moment with him and Harcourt as he like dies. Like I think it's like there's like a little this going on,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
touches her hand and then he just like dies. And then we have, of course, like finally Peacemaker taking out his dad, which is huge. Oh, and just on that same scene, like I do love that Peacemaker is just like, you killed him. Like it was not me. Like I do love that he was able to kind of like finally defend himself against his father before just taking him out. Like there was more
Right.
than just like I took you out but didn't address these things to you. Like this was not my fault. I was a kid. Like I thought that was huge, and I think it was important for us to see that from him.
You can
And I
call
think yeah,
me.
we're kind of made it to the hospital.
I'm gonna say you can call
Oh,
me dark, but like, say in this moment, I feel like if I were Peacemaker, I would have had a little bit more fun with it. Maybe like if I were like Vigilante, I would have maybe taken out a few kneecaps first, and then like I was like, this is for this is for that, this is for making me feel this way, bop bop bop, and then like finally finish it. But of course, James Gunn, he didn't want to go that direction. He could have, it's HBO, it's not Disney Plus, but who knows? That just left me in my imagination, and then.
the way the way you said that though, like I get like oh maybe like slow down the death, get a little bit more out of the freaking like I would have loved to just have some fun with it, you
Right,
know.
right.
And the way you're see that's a creepy smile. We're talking about creepy smiles today. That's
Stop
it.
it.
You're like
Stop
I
it.
would love.
Listen, this dad tortured Peacemaker his entire life. It wasn't just like momentary, and then you just want to kill him off just like that. Nah, like what I've learned from all these movies, especially from the bad guys, they like to take their time with torturing, so why not? It's like you're letting your dad get off easy, and I get it. You're hurt, this, that, and the third.
I understand.
Yeah, so
I
that's
understand.
just me. But
I see
anywho,
your point. I see it.
we're at the vet where Eagley gets sewn up, and Adebayo, she's having a conversation with her wife, but she witnesses a quote unquote miracle that she didn't believe from Peacemaker, which was the hug from Eagley. And I didn't know if we were gonna get that again, honestly. After the first episode, I was like, oh, okay, cool. The eagle hugs Peacemaker, but we got it again. It was cool. Yeah.
And I love that he was trying to get like a
Like a
picture.
selfie. Yeah.
That was so cute.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, and I do love this scene because it's like it's kind of like the team is trying to find the strength to keep pushing forward and get this job done because I think there's a lot of like disheartening feelings after obviously like the betrayal with the diary and all these other things were no longer being there, like oh their ability to actually do this mission, like they don't have a lot of faith in that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to kind of like bring themselves together and enough so that even like the nurses and the doctors that were being tied up were like, we're ready fam, like we're like to roll, like no,
Right.
just us, you guys can stay here, I appreciate that, but no, this was just for us.
This
is
is
our
and
team,
this where I think like I kind of got in the shoes of the people that were there. I feel like I would have been confused, being that the only phrase that they used was butterfly. So if I'm just standing there and then I'm being held hostage, I'm like, yo, they're over here talking about just killing some butterflies. You know what I'm saying? They're not saying anything as far as like alien race or whatnot, or a group of terrorists called butterflies. I would have been just like, what are y'all on?
They would have. Yeah. It reminds me of like the LARPers, you know what I mean? Where it's like an outside kind of group of people who are like, find themselves amongst like superhero people, and they're like, I just want to help.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be part of this,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that is where episode 7 kind of ends. They leave in the van, the hospital, the veterinarian van, and that's where we go into episode 8. Now, episode 8, Adebayo's trying to apologize, and the immaturity from Peacemaker comes,
Classic.
But at the end of the day, I'm Team Peacemaker here, because it's like if Grace, if you try to set me up, nah, like you're setting me up to go back to jail. Miss me with your apology. You can apologize all you like. You're trying to get me to go back to jail. It's not like, oh, you hurt me and things could be good, I can get back to where I was. No, you're sending me back to a place I don't want to go. I'm doing this job specifically so I don't have to go back to jail. And yet you're doing something to send me back. Nah, F your apology, G. Nah.
See, I totally agree. I don't disagree. I was starting to feel kind of way. I'm like, well, I don't want to be Adebayo. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be Adebayo in this situation. Like, like Peacemaker definitely has like the right to feel upset with Adebayo. And just to kind of give like our girl a little bit of defense, it's like I think that her relationship and the struggle that she has with her mom and the reality of who she
Mm-hmm.
is very similar and parallel to a Peacemaker, has gone through with his dad. And so it's like yes, Peacemaker is completely right to be upset with Adebayo in
Mm-hmm.
this. But it's like I so see like the position Adebayo was being put in because of her mom, who put her to do a task, and especially when she was in the middle of getting that job done and like putting the diary. We know she had a lot of like apprehensions and hesitation on
Right.
it. She wasn't like intentionally trying to get Peacemaker in trouble, but she knew that would have been a result of that, right?
Yeah, like
So
regardless, she did it. No
yeah,
matter what the hesitation
exactly.
was, she did it. She planted it, and she's guilty. You know what I'm saying?
She's guilty.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And then from here, where do we segue into?
Uh, from the truck to the farm, because the
To the
the
farm.
whole
Okay.
episode, the butterflies are trying to teleport the cow.
Right. And this is where we have them trying to figure out how to take the one of the helmets into the barn. And
Mm-hmm.
we get this really funny moment where Peacemaker is like telling Eagley exactly what to do. And I think it's Hardcore who's like, I don't believe he knows what you're telling him.
Mm-hmm.
I truly don't believe this. And then he's like, go. And then we just see Eagley like go in this direction and then fly on the opposite end. Like this gave me such Rocket and Groot vibes from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Right.
Or, and who was it? Yondu, right? When Yondu is trying to get Groot to go do and get the what is it? The arrow
Right. Right.
control
Right. Right.
thingy device,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he comes back with like several wrong things, I think it's wrong. He's like, yeah, I was pretty sure he had no idea what you were telling him. So it was, I
Yeah.
think, the same dynamic.
Yeah.
Very, very cool dynamic.
And
So a lot of
and what was it?
parallels
It was
there.
also like right before that, Adebayo was just kind of making like a hypothetical situation. Is like, oh hey, you can do this you can do this and use this helmet. All you got to do is just say like, activate anti-gravity, da 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 da, and without realizing it, of course, I wouldn't have even thought, just because I'm thinking that these helmets would be activated once they're like put on the head.
Put
Like
on.
if
Yeah.
there's like, you put it on and there's a button, boom, it's on. Now you can activate whatever. But these helmets are listening no matter what, kind of like our phones today. That could be like an homage to technology. They're always listening. But anyway, when it comes down to this, we get there and we already lost a helmet before the fight even begins.
And we see this arsenal of like different helmets, which I made this comparison before. It reminds me a lot of Hawkeye with like all the different like trick arrows. I think it's very similar, but I think it's funny because just like you mentioned, it's like these helmets are not exactly like the easy most practical
Mm-hmm.
function, right?
Yep.
And to your point, it's like they seem like they could be Iron Man, like Stark level tech, but they're not. They're
Yeah.
like lesser than.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows like who the maker is. But um they had to plan to get economists to take one of the helmets into the barn instead with like a walkie-talkie for Adebayo to then
Right.
signal it to essentially explode. And they had already established that it has like 4 loads in
Mm-hmm.
one charge, so they knew they had essentially those 4 to try and get the monster, kill the monster, all of that,
Right.
right? Or the cow. Let's use the term they use,
Mm-hmm.
the cow.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Economist has been bullied by the whole team. We've seen this happen in several episodes. We've talked about it. And this scene is so sad when he's like walking back from dropping off the helmet into like the barn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Goff who goes up to him and asks like, "Oh, why's your beard?" Oh no, is it
It's
Goff?
not
One
Goff.
of
It's
the.
the partner.
It's the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because that's just like, oh, why did your person like dye their beard like that? And obviously, it's like it's established that the butterflies, when they take over, they still have the memories of the person that used to inhabit that body, and so he replies with the truth.
Yeah.
And the whole team is like so sad because they know they've contributed to that kind of like bullying that he's explaining, and it's
Right.
this really sad moment. And then it's funny how then the butterfly is like, ugh, humans
Humans.
are so lame.
Right.
They're so sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a sad moment. But I think after this point, it's like they've discover the helmet
Right.
before economists can fully have like escaped. So at
Mm-hmm.
this point, it's kind of like you guys got to do something now because they're all behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And Adebayo, we've talked about it. We've waited. We've given this girl so many chances to
SMH.
like
Yeah.
be that
Yep.
person.
Yep. Drop the ball.
When
Well,
she dropped,
she didn't
no,
drop the ball. She dropped the walkie-talkie, literally.
girl, one job.
Right.
He's like, how the hell does that happen? My hands are so sweaty. But finally she does like initiate the first boom, which definitely gets the attention of the butterflies,
Mm-hmm.
steers them away from economists. And I think they initiate all four before like the team kind of runs
Well,
in, right, to
there
try
were
it,
four
right?
charges, right? And Peacemaker, he used one of them in the first episode against the initial butterfly. So there were 3 charges left. So from there, they just ended up using the rest because I think that's what he put it out. I think there was only 3 charges left. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they just kept breaking down I was about to say apartment, the barn. And from here I was expecting someone to get taken over by a butterfly because once the barn is down, that's when the team starts to attack. And this, I feel like at night, it's prime time, especially if it's somebody like economist or something like that, somebody who's not really skilled in weaponry at all. I'm thinking either him or Adebayo is about to be taken over by a random butterfly that's kind of like patrolling the skies or something
Swarming.
like that, you know?
Yeah. And I see what you were saying. I feel like I'm not as bothered on this scenario because they did like with good sense have economists and Adebayo on the
Yeah.
sidelines, right? So they're technically not immediately in like the vicinity with like the initial fight. They kind of bring it in a little bit
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know I think I have like a constant anxiety in this show of like I think just one of them's gonna get taken over by a butterfly
Mm-hmm.
because it's like they're just swarming everywhere. I do love that in the moment that Adebayo and Economist are like, we got to go in because we get these shots just prior with the vigilantes knocked down. We have Harcourt, who is on the ground as well, like
Mm-hmm.
coughing up blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's time for them to go in, right? Like squad, like the people on like the sidelines to finally go into the main game. And Adebayo rushes in. Economist gets knocked down, just not even getting over the fence.
Trips.
He just gets
He just
over,
trips.
breaks his damn leg. Like
Right.
I think bone is protruding
Right.
out of his
How does he
leg.
do that? You know, you
Man.
just fall over and he didn't even feel it at first. He looked down. He's like, "What is that?" And it's like, "Oh, it's my broken leg." You know, like come on, come on. But
This was such a good episode. It was so good.
it
It was so good.
it came to the point to where we have been questioning Adebayo since episode 1 as far as quote unquote skill set, and she may be a little scared, but at the end of the day, she low key turned into John Wick just for if it was like
It was a
30
good scene for
seconds,
her.
she did that, you know. She was taking out butterflies left and right, you know.
That
Yeah.
was her moment. That was
Mm-hmm.
her moment. That was a good moment for her for sure. And I do love like the moment of I think she runs in after
Mm-hmm.
Chris, right? And I like the way they framed the scene to make you think that it was her pulling Chris out
Yes.
of like
Yeah.
the rubble because he ran in earlier and kind of got knocked down with all of
Mm-hmm.
everything above. But in reality, it was Goff, right? Instead of the Sophie's like the police person's
Mm-hmm.
body and everything. And we get some insight from Goff that we didn't get obviously when he was just a butterfly because he wasn't able to
Right.
communicate of like that moment that we
Mm-hmm.
spoke about with like him making the peace sign and him like he's like, oh, I'm like, I really am thankful that you fed me while I was in there and all these things. Like, yeah, there was
Oh
a
yeah.
friendship there. I thought that was really cool. And they're trying to recruit Peacemaker because, he's like, oh, like you, we have a code. We
A vow.
have we
Mm-hmm.
made a vow, an oath, like to like when their planet essentially like was no longer inhabitable and they came to Earth and realized that Earth was essentially in the same position or same route to their planet. They're like, we need to do something, and that's when they initiated essentially their infestation of like of
Right.
humans, and they reference Mern and being that like obviously he didn't see and align with their views. I believe back in episode six, I'm sorry, the first episode we're breaking down today, when he was explaining himself to Adebayo, he explains kind of why he turned. He's like, initially we were just inhabiting here, but then Goff decided to start taking over the bodies and all this, and I just couldn't stand by. They called me sensitive, and so it puts Peacemaker in kind of a tough position because obviously Goff is placing this like you can
But
save
then
the
let
world,
me
if
let me
you
ask you
don't
then,
do
just
this.
because after this conversation, because this conversation is what I'm referencing as far as what we could have got from Judo Master as far as the purpose of the butterflies. Now, their whole mission is to create a world of peace just simply for the fact that the world they initially came from was similar to ours, but it pretty much died due to uh, similar things that's going on in the world here today. So their mission was to more so
Mm-hmm.
make the this world more so a world of peace. Now, with that being said, do you believe the butterfly and Mern was anti-peace?
No, I wouldn't say that at all because Mern didn't defect until the butterfly started to take over bodies and people of power to initially essentially like
Yeah.
fix the world, right? To like or keep it from falling into the same path that their original world
Mm-hmm.
fell into, right? But it kind of comes down to like you're taking away this person's ability to choose. And I think because I had just rewatched episode 6, he talks about how he's aware what he did. He's like, I took over this person's body. I basically killed him. I wake up with his memories. And yes, he was a horrible person, but even he had the ability to change. And I took
Right.
that choice away
Mm-hmm.
from him, So I wouldn't say that he was against peace. I think he was just
Taking
against
away the
like
choice.
basically killing the population on the world to like get that job done. And so, but the way that obviously like Goff is framing it is very much like, oh, like you Peacemaker, you can save the world. And obviously Goff believes in this, right? Whatever. It's like Thanos believing that, destroying half of the universe is going to,
Mm-hmm.
make everything better. Like Goff believes in this and trying to convince Peacemaker to kind of join along. And he shoots the or no, let's give this its
Mm-hmm.
due diligence. Ready? This is where
Mm-hmm.
Adebayo gets shot
Like
into
torpedo mode.
the damn
Mm-hmm. Yep.
cow. Torpedo mode. He's like, initiate torpedo mode. And Adebayo, because she initiated it herself. I'm
Yeah, we
sorry, hold
skipped
on, we forgot
over
to
her
talk about
missing the
this.
torpedo.
Where Adebayo, yes, Adebayo is like trying to torpedo into Goff and like just completely misses. And it's basically the same thing as her dropping the damn
Right.
like walkie-talkie. It's like the same effect. And I find it so funny that this woman is still like teetering and tottering from the effects of just having been
Right.
torpedoed into the wall, and then Peacemaker just into like the gut of the butterfly, or the cow.
Even though,
That
like,
was so
say
good.
her as an actress is too big of a character to kill, after Peacemaker mentioned like saying like as far as the torpedo mode, he said be ready to pretty much break every bone in your body. Once she missed Goff, I was like, oh, she's dead. She's gone. She went straight into a rock wall. I was like, it is over. And yeah, she was kind of like just wobbling out, just and then without her even knowing that he was going to do what he did, of course, he activated it again, and she ended up being the one to take out the cow. But say with that, I didn't know where this was going to go because I saw her go into the cow, and from there, I didn't know if if she was going to fall out, if Peacemaker was going to have to go in. It was everywhere, stressful.
this is another Guardians of the Galaxy like callback, right? Because this is very similar to when Drax goes into like the creature
Right.
at the start of Guardians of the
Mm-hmm.
Galaxy Volume 2. And he's like covered in all this like slimy disgustingness. And I think Adebayo is a very similar like example. Like she just comes out and she's like, this is disgusting.
I like that comparison because
It's and
what's his name is kind of clueless too. Yeah, Drax is clueless.
Drax.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I see where James Gunn got that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's similar. It's similar. So before we continue, I'm gonna have to do this. My phone's
Okay.
like about to die. So I'm gonna go
Okay.
off video, but
Okay.
you'll be able to
That's
hear
fine.
me.
It's all good.
Sorry guys, I
All
know.
good. Let me see if I still have
All
that
right, we'll
picture
continue.
of Grace on the
Oh, yes.
line. Let's see.
We'll wait.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right.
Yay! Okay, I'm gonna turn off my video, guys, just so I make sure I can make it through this and
Oh, for
multiverses
sure.
madness
Because we're just
breakdown.
about
So
done with Peacemaker here. Because say
yes,
Adebayo she takes out the cow, and then from there we're above ground and we get the late entrance from the Justice League. And I wasn't expecting to see them at all, even though I know like Adebayo, she made a call. She was like, "Mom, can you just like call the Justice League or something like that?" But even though there were references, I didn't think they were going to show. And yes, we know the actors for sure that showed up were Aquaman and the Flash. But aside from that, I think the other two were just other actors. They didn't show their faces, and I don't think I saw Batman at all. I saw Wonder Woman and Superman, but I didn't see Batman. Did I miss him, or was he not there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like she was talking to her mom, and she's like, "Yo, can you just call the Justice League or something?" Yeah, like so she said that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I What I do know is Ben Affleck is done. He's done playing Batman. Like no matter what. So I was like that's why I saw it and I was like, okay. Ben Affleck said, "No, I'm not about to show up in this show. I'm good. I'm done. I'm done with superheroes." But as far as the other two, as far as Superman and Wonder Woman, I don't know their deal contractually if it's a matter of recasting or if anything, why would they? I don't think they would recast one. No, I would say Wonder Woman. Because I think there were conversations in the past about Henry Cavill being done, but I don't know if it's true. But his return, I think he said if he wanted to return, it would be to do like a Man of Steel 2. But as far as playing Superman and anything else, all of this is just rumor, so I don't know for sure. Yeah. Right. We may need them for like 30 seconds, but even still, that 30 seconds is going to cost forever. Yeah. Right. Mm hmm. Right. Mm hmm. With the rest of them in there. Right. Mm hmm. Yep. Mm hmm. Yeah. It's pretty much the end. Yeah. Mm hmm. Mm hmm. Oh, yeah. Civil War. Mm hmm. Mm hmm. Yeah. Right. Mm hmm. Mm hmm. Uh, right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the Instagram posted that they're up for another season. So if it's not another Suicide Squad, like a Suicide Squad 3, then I would think it's totally fine just to give us another season of the 11th Street Kids. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Who? Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But see, this is where I'm gonna have an issue here because say I know I've said it on podcasts before that I'm happy in the direction that HBO is doing and is going as far as these shows and giving like these individual people their spotlight in these shows. They're kind of following the formula of Marvel. But say with that being said, if we're going to get what's her name again? Ratcatcher 2. Now, as good of a show that could be, is that something that the DC universe should get? Because as of right now, the DC universe is still kind of everywhere, okay? Because it's not until this year where they're starting to put stuff together for their superheroes, you know? So why not invest in a show in a superhero that we haven't seen? Actually give us like a Green Lantern or origin story. If it's not Hal Jordan, give us like what's his name? It's not John Henry. It's something. But it's like I'm saying, give us a story that eventually would lead into an actual like Justice League movie, you know, kind of like how Marvel is doing right now. They're building up these characters to eventually do, even though I just saw something on Instagram either today or yesterday. I think Kevin Feige said that the last Avengers was the last Avengers movie that we're going to get. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get another team up movie, you know? So DC should invest in like say another hero to eventually, if not do the Justice League, join another group of heroes in a movie sense and not just in a show. Build them up in a show and then bring them over into a movie. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Right. This year is a big year for DC, definitely. Right. And and here's what it seems like. Say right now we have, let's say, universe for universe, Marvel, we already know where this universe is going to go. We have an idea of the teams just based off of the comic book references, like you brought up the West Coast Avengers and other teams like that, to where here in DC, we have no idea where this is going. We know that we're getting Black Adam. We know we're getting another Shazam. We know that we're getting uh what other DC movie is coming out this year? Um right. We're getting Batman as well. Um it's not in the DCEU, right. But say all of these kind of individual entities, we still have no clue to where they're eventually going to be interweaved, you know? And that's where my confusion lies. And if it, let's say, if it takes as long as Marvel, because Marvel, the MCU is currently 12 years old, okay? And they've had time to figure it out. But DC, they're I get it. They're doing like a slow build. I know so far as of right now, they didn't have the greatest track record. Like a lot of people didn't like the initial whatchamacallit, not the Snyder cut, the original Justice League, and the initial Suicide Squad. Even though like I liked it, I feel like there are a lot of people out there that didn't really like it. So I feel like DC is still kind of in the stage of figuring it out, but I'm now just curious to the point to where, are they going to figure it out to where they're going to eventually come together, or is this going to be the same old DC and we're just going to get separate situations? Right. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Right. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Previous podcast. Mhm. Right. Right. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Okay. I gotcha. Well, I think that's everything that I'm giving to DC right now. I know we kind of went off on a DC tangent. I'm ready. I'm so ready to go into this Multiverse of Madness trailer. Are you ready? Okay. All right. Let me take Peacemaker off of there, and boom, here's the poster of the Multiverse of Madness. Now, we got the teaser. Maybe no, I won't even say maybe. When did we get it? It was at the end of the Eternals, right? Or no, Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man. Yeah. So we got that around Christmas time. And now we got the official trailer of the Multiverse of Madness. Now, I had to exhale real quick just because it opens up with kind of what we've already seen already. Like, something's going on. We see what's the woman's name again? That you said can travel to different universes. Yeah, America Chavez. She's tied up, and we see Wong is in trouble, and we see right now this universe, or we don't even know if it's this universe, but there is a universe in disarray because there are shots of New York and buildings kind of colliding from different angles. It's almost as if, like, say we're in the mirror dimension, but the buildings actually collided in the mirror dimension, if that makes sense. Right. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So, wait, before we go further, just kind of to touch what you said earlier, as far as like giving us or giving the MCU more freedom to do whatever with these characters. I kind of had a thought I think it was like earlier this week or maybe even last week. I've just kind of been holding on to chat with you about it. How do you feel to kind of believe that with all of these properties coming together, right, into to one universe and now a multiverse, how do you feel if I said that the Matt Murdock that we got and the Kingpin that we got are variants of their Netflix counterparts? Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Correct. Correct. So so moving forward, just because as far as the X-Men are concerned, being that you said it, I'm just going to say in this trailer, we didn't get visual confirmation, but we got an auditory confirmation that Patrick Stewart is in this movie, and of course that is Professor X from the Fox X Men. You know, so they're bringing him into the fold. Now, from this, I'm going to bring up the image that I posted up online. Now, before I dive into who's who of this image, Grace, if you could be so kind and kind of, if you know uh more, or I'm sure you know more about the Illuminati, can you break down the Illuminati for us? No, I said more. Correct. Look at that. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the question, because say when it comes down to it, if Doctor Strange has to have to answer to, let's say, the events of Spider-Man and somewhat disrupting the multiverse, then at the end of the day, I swore that this is what the TVA was all about. And I didn't believe there was a quote unquote higher power above it aside from Kang the Conqueror, or He Who Remains, But now, of course, this is all rumor, but at the end of the day, Doctor Strange is answering to someone, and who knows if they're in any relation to the TVA, if they're in any relation to He Who Remains, but I do know for sure that He Who Remains next, or the actor, the next time we're gonna see him is in Ant-Man and Quantumania, So he is not a part of this group that we see. I don't have the image of Doctor Strange kind of walking into this chamber, but I do see in the chamber that, like, it's real quick. You can obviously, Mordo is walking up among the chairs. He's coming up from the right. So um, as far as the Illuminati is concerned, on the last week of looking up some stuff, it's kind of consistent as far as the characters, because initially when I heard about the Illuminati, I I saw an image of, initially I thought T'Challa was on it, but now people are expecting that Killmonger is in it, Captain Carter from What If, Mordo as the Sorcerer Supreme, because in the image that I knew of before, Strange was a part of the Illuminati, but in this image, or in this trailer, it may seem that Mordo is taking that place. You have Charles Xavier, and it, like, say someone had, like, in this image wrote out, like, this is the Charles Xavier of the Days of Future Past timeline, and that was in the future. I actually like that X-Men. Out of all the X-Men movies, I think that one was my favorite. And then we have Reed Richards, and they're saying it's possibly the same actor from the original Fantastic Four, and Monica Rambeau. And I initially thought, if anything, I didn't think it was. Wait, was it Monica that was in WandaVision? So I knew, yeah, I remember seeing some comic book covers of Monica becoming Captain Marvel, quote unquote, but I thought it was of the powers that she got in WandaVision, and then she just referred to herself as Captain Marvel, if that makes sense. Right, right. Wait, but in this trailer, this quote unquote Captain Marvel looks to be as if it were, first off, it wasn't clear. So here's this is speculation. As far as there is a being that is attacking Wanda here, and this being looks to have the power of Carol Danvers. So I'm assuming that this Monica Rambeau is more so a variant of, let's say, Carol Danvers that eventually takes on the powers of the um what's the box called, the Tesseract, and becomes the Carol Danvers version of Captain Marvel. Like that's what this trailer makes it look like. Kang? Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Resembles like What If. Right. Correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. I think just from what the internet is saying, I believe it is a variant, and I think this variant is has her children, and this is initially uh the voices that she heard at the end of WandaVision. Correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's America. I think that's her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So so say in watching this, right? And I'm gonna throw rumors to the side. So the thing that one thing that we did get a for sure image of are the Ultron bots. So I'm not gonna put Tom Cruise into this conversation. I'm just gonna say that there is a Tony Stark variant. We don't know for sure 100% if Tom Cruise is in it. This has been a rumor for a few months now, and people have been putting up this artwork or whatnot. But say from this, right, and seeing these Ultron bots, I like somebody said online that the Tony Stark variant that is in the Illuminati is the actual, they called him Superior Iron Man. And I actually did a little research. I actually read the whole series on Superior Iron Man. I only like I had like a day or two left on my like free 7 days of that Marvel that Marvel app. So so listen, if it is this Iron Man, right? Regardless of who's playing it, I've always, not always, but I've just been curious just to see or even read a story of Tony Stark gone bad. And that is pretty much what the superior Iron Man is. And what kind of makes him different from suit wise from the last suit that we saw from Endgame and Infinity War is this suit is part his technology and part symbiote, you know? So it's almost like he has a liquid metal suit that is like borderline on some venom, but he has 100% control of this suit. And I'm super excited just because if anything, they're saying that this wasn't in this series of Superior Iron Man, but this version of Iron Man defeated Thanos, you know. So I'm curious just to see for sure who is actually playing this because I don't think our I think Robert Downey Jr. is done. But if that's the case, if this is that version of Iron Man, I want to know if he leads to any quarrels with this Doctor Strange and the multiverse and everything like that. So that I feel is what I'm most excited to see. Not necessarily Hugh, but more so if it's this version of Spider-Man. No, not Spider-Man, of Iron Man. Yeah. Mhm. That was a variant. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah, definitely. Mhm. Yeah, in May. Mhm. Sent what? McAvoy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, with I do have something like, cause say initially, like yeah, we heard the voice, but initially when hearing the voice, you kind of get an over the shoulder shot of someone looking down on Strange, and it looks like Charles Xavier from behind, you know. So, I think that's 100% confirmed that it's him. Now, I think the only other question, oh, actually two questions, because in this image that I have up here, this is, people are saying that this is the Mordo of this universe, but this Mordo wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme, so I'm just gonna just say it may not be from he may not be from the universe that we know of. I think that this is a Mordo from another universe, but I think as far as let's say people are saying uh, Captain Carter is a part of this, right? So, being that this is not a cartoon, do you believe that the actress herself is going to pull a Natalie Portman and put on some size? Sharon Carter or Peggy Carter? Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh snap! This is gonna be. I promise you. Like if you go to the movies, if any of you all go to the movies and y'all went to go see Spider-Man in the first week, the theater is gonna erupt even more crazy in this movie. I know it. Like we had like let's say 3 or 4 moments in Spider-Man, but I'm almost guaranteeing just if they're gonna bring like if for example if you say they're gonna bring possibly the X-Men animated series. That could be the reason why they're bringing it back. But if they do, and they bring back other things, even if they go animated and go into the What If series or whatnot, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be wild. I'm excited. Right. Yeah. Somebody said they switched it out. Yeah. Because initially, I think they said that the figure is too small to be a Shuma. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the only, like, I am gonna have, let's say, a downside here, and the only thing that I maybe have to read more in terms of the comic book on the Illuminati. I just don't understand why uh, Black Bolt would be in it. And say the reason why I'm saying this is because being that I was heavily into um, the Agents of Shield. The Agents of Shield, they introduced me to Inhumans, right? And then from there was an Inhuman series that came out, and I watched it, but even in watching it, I honestly was not a fan of Black Bolt at all. Like, he is a mute that does sign language, which I'm sure he can communicate easily with Xavier with like his mind or whatnot. But as far as powers, the only reason why he's mute is because I think whenever he talks, it's like sound waves, like really like destructive sound waves comes out. So he just chooses not to talk. But I didn't really see him that much of like as a leader of the Inhumans in the TV series, and I think maybe it's just more so having to do more research as to why he's actually even in the Illuminati. Do you know anything, or yeah, just anything about Black Bolt in general? Right. Mm-hmm. Mordo. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. And I think I wanna leave. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. Like, say I've known him to be the king of the Inhumans. Like, but say he was king, only passed down through blood right. He didn't really display anything, especially in that series, as far as why he would be a cool character or even a smart character, either tactfully or just intelligently. Like, there was nothing shown, so that's why I'm just like, how or why he would be in the Illuminati. Yes, he's a king, but he was a king just because his dad was the king before him. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not like he earned himself. Yeah. I. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. I would say they would save John for the MCU and not like the variant of the Illuminati. Yeah. Right. I think like I want to quote uh the MCU crew real quick, just because they were kind of talking about the whole Tom Cruise thing, and the reason why they say it wouldn't be Robert Downey Jr., which I agree with, is because uh acting wise, Robert Downey Jr. is someone you can't help but love on screen. You know, he is someone, no matter what role outside of Iron Man, it's just somebody that you like. You know, and this version of Iron Man, whether if it's Tom Cruise or not, it's like it has to be played by somebody who can be a jerk, but like act that out real well. You get what I'm saying, you know, to where it's like you hate to love them, but at the same time you do love them because you hate them. Right, right. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. It should be. Just bring somebody else. Bring us another actor. Leave. Well, then if that's the case, then this has to be no, yeah, this has to be another send off because I hate to say it, but uh Hugh Jackman is getting up there in age, you know, and he may be Jack no matter what, but we can see that we can see since the original X-Men how he's progressed in age or whatnot. So if they're going to bring him back, this would either have to be bring him back to either kill him off again or bring him back and send him off so we never see this version of Wolverine ever again. And then because he will be technically a quote unquote variant. Like this will be let's say the Wolverine that we know, but he's not going to be the Wolverine of the MCU. We're gonna have to get somebody new, you know? Like right. Mhm. Yeah. Right, and the way that I'm thinking about it right now, and as far as how someone kind of said that this Professor Xavier is of the Days of Future Past, they they can definitely pull that off just because that Professor Xavier and that Wolverine, they initially become variants because that timeline becomes erased because Wolverine changes the whole timeline just in general. So if they brought back that that version of Professor X, then that version of Professor X and Wolverine, they didn't die in Logan. These are more so variants of that timeline. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 What's up? Mm-hmm. The only thing that I can that I've already hypothesized is Kang is gonna save the universe, the multiverse, and like and the multiverse of madness is it to me like I think I'm gonna stick with it. I'm stick by it as far as saying the multiverse won't end with this movie, no matter what, because this whole saga now is a multiversal saga, and we're only a few movies in, so I like as far as this movie is concerned, we may get some we may get to the point to where this Strange takes the place of Mordo on in the Illuminati, um because you mentioned it, we've seen other versions of Strange here, and one of the versions being, people say, the Defender Strange, but we're not going to get into that today. But um, I think if anything, uh, he may become a member of that council, and Wanda may eventually, who knows, be put into the same thing that uh, Ultron and Killmonger were put into from the Evil Strange. That may be the only reason why he's here. He may be here to save uh the universe, He may lock her up in another sphere to where she can't do any more damage. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. There was a Wanda one. Yep. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd rather, if anything, if someone were to say yes, they're in it, and then they're not, I'd rather be disappointed that way. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Deadpool. Well, it's not on the stream. I can see it on the Skype. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I want to leave with this question. I'm going to pose this to everybody. I may chop this up and throw it up on the Instagram. But let's say when it comes down to the multiverse, who do you all think actually governs the multiverse? Because right now in this trailer, we have a council that we're just going to assume is the Illuminati in one hand. In another hand, we have the TVA. And then in another hand, we have the Watcher from the What If series. So I want to pose that to y'all as far as like, who is actually making sure the multiverse is running smoothly? And right, exactly, because as of right now, we're getting multiple beings and nothing is really for sure. So I'm throwing that out there for y'all to chime in and let us know who you think governs the multiverse. So I think that's where I want to end. How about, what do you think? Okay. All right. So this was episode 22 of the Comic Cinematic Universe, and we will be back next week. We will throw the topic up of next week. Next week. I just have to chat with Grace. We have a schedule. I just have to really just chat with her about it because there is something I do want to talk to you about. But I think I'll talk to you about it. Can we chat on Monday if that's possible? You and I? Cool. Awesome. So until next time, Grace, I would say I'll see you again, but you have your picture up, man. Your camera's off. Sad face. All right. Yes, yes. Yeah. So I appreciate that you stayed on. Audio or not. So yeah, we will catch you all next week. You all have a great weekend. All right. Later, guys.